What's up everyone, John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo here with a full review for you of the Motorola Devour. This is a new Android smartphone on Verizon Wireless service, currently only available from Best Buy Mobile for about $100 on a 2-year contract, but it will be able to be picked up from a Verizon Wireless store in the near future. This is sitting on top of a bit older version, Android 1.6, with Motorola's own UI scheme called Motorola, which I'll show you in just a moment. And for those of you wondering at home, 1.6 is the latest version of Android that lets you run Google Maps navigation. So if you have a 1.5 device, you're out of luck, but 1.6 or newer like this will let you have free turn-by-turn directions. A pretty nice feature if I don't say so myself. So before we get into all of the specs and features and reviews, let's talk about the phone quality, because no matter what a phone does, if it makes crappy phone calls, it's not going to be of much use to you. So my experience with the Devour was very similar to most of the Verizon phones that I've tested. Quite good. Call quality was crystal clear. I heard no white noise or distortion on my end. Caller on the other end had no distortion or white noise on their end as well. Speakerphone was quite loud. There's a very large grill on the back. I was able to even use it in a car with the phone on my lap, and I could hear the caller just fine, and they could hear me. So if you're worried about this as a phone, don't. You're going to be very, very happy. So let's talk a bit about the screen, since we're going to be looking at most of the time. It's a 3.1-inch screen with a very, very, very large bezel. It is a 320 by 480 resolution, 16-bit colors, a bit over 600 or 65,000. The bezel, though, is a bit weird. This is sort of where the phone gets a bit quirky. It's got a very large front facade, not much of which is taken up by the screen. You've got 3 capacitive buttons here at the LED indicator. You may see blinking blue, but that's really the gist of it. You've got an optical trackpad right here, which we'll talk about in just a minute. The phone, for as large as it is, has a very small screen. It becomes apparent when you're holding the device. It's got a lot of weight and heft to it. It's certainly by no means a thin phone. You flip it on its side, you'll see that it does have quite a bit of heft and weight. Even if I go ahead and bring in something like the Droid, which is much more powerful, the Devour is thicker, which is a strange choice for Motorola, who make both phones. And we'll bring the Droid back in just a minute. So navigation-wise, you do most of your navigation on screen or using this optical trackpad. Generally, I've liked optical trackpads in the past. I don't think the implementation here works all that well. Scrolling on it was not very smooth. Oftentimes wasn't terribly responsive. I did like that you could use it in and push it, and it could a selectable D-pad, but I was not the biggest fan of this. Ordinarily, when I see a trackball on something like the Nexus 1, I don't always like that so much either, but the trackball is a much better navigation implementation for Android, at least in this case, than the trackpad is. It's got a very high quality aluminum feel to it, and you sort of sacrifice weight to have that high quality. This thing feels like you could throw it off a building and it would survive it no problem. Now, I don't recommend doing that, of course. I'm sure it wouldn't, but it's got that feeling of very high quality materials made out of pure aluminum or aluminium, depending on where in the world you're watching this video. So it's got a slide-out keyboard. It's got a very nice sliding mechanism too. It's spring-loaded. It shoots right up. It's got a much nicer slide than the Droid does. It also has a very nice keyboard. I really like typing on this. It's got a bit of peculiarities though as well. Notice that down below here there are letters as well next to the spacebar, so it's a little bit weird to have to type and hit the spacebar, but you get used to it. And they did that to accommodate a full number row across the top. Typing experience and typing wise, the Devour was very good, and I give it very high marks for its keyboard. The aluminum ridges on the side make it nice to hold and feel, and it always feels very solid in your hand. So let's talk about the UI this is on top of. So Android 1.6, you've seen, old hat, but this is running Motorola, which is a bit weird and kind of quirky. The first thing you notice about Motorola are these new icons across the bottom. So that brings up a new dialer. The menu looks the same as other older Android devices. Same with the little slidey thing on top, the notification tray, and the contacts look a bit different as well. I'm not going to show that because I have personal contacts in there, but you can go ahead and get some more details about each person. Motorola goes ahead and pulls in Facebook, Twitter, it sort of integrates all of your social networking into what they claim is a unified platform. You can get these notifications that pop up, so you can get email notifications, Twitter notifications. You can send a notification to see what one person's doing or all your Twitter followers are doing right on your home screen. If you're a big social networker, you may like that. I use Twitter quite a bit, as some of you may know, but I actually turned off a lot of these Moto Blur features. I just turned these back on for demonstration purposes. I dragged them all right in the trash. I ended up using this phone just as I would a stock Android device and pretty much ignored Moto Blur. I did like having the contacts right down below, but I could easily get rid of that and just put a shortcut on the home screen. So if you're looking to purchase this for Moto Blur and you think it's going to be a very cool, immersive UI, it's really not. I think Android itself is very usable and easy to use. So Moto Blur seems a bit superfluous, at least in this case, and in its current iteration. Perhaps in future versions it'll gain a bit more utility. But right now I found it to just get in the way. And not only that, it's also very processor and memory intensive because it's always pulling information, so it's going to drain your battery faster if you've got all those widgets open. Something to keep in mind. I've had some issues in the past with capacitive buttons, like on the Nexus 1. These work quite well. I didn't have any issue when I wanted to tap them. Menus came up quite nicely. One thing you're going to notice too, there's different notifications than you get on a standard Android device. These are the Moto Blur notifications. To go in and pull out the Droid here, you can see that there are a very different array of buttons on the bottom. Back button, menu button, home button, and search. You get your back and search, but your menu button sort of looks like a foursquare. Just a bit different. If you're familiar with other Android devices and you pick up the Devour, don't want you to look at this and be like, what the heck is going on? So something to keep in mind. So seeing as I just brought the Droid in, it's kind of hard to review the Devour without thinking about the Droid, since they're both on Verizon's network, and there's about a $100 price difference between the two. In some cases, $50 depending where you go, but not a significant amount of money between them. And this is where I think the biggest problem with the Devour comes in. You've got a phone that is less powerful than the Droid, yet it's larger, thicker in all dimensions, and weighs more than the Droid, and has a smaller screen, which makes it a very hard value proposition. The Droid I found to be very capable. It worked really well, multi-touch enabled. You could pinch and zoom using the Dolphin browser or soon with a 2.1 update. The Devour is not multi-touch capable, unfortunately. So even with the third-party browser, you're going to be stuck with just a simple pan or zoom with one finger. So I've got a very hard time recommending a device with completely inferior specs, but a larger package. And those inferior specs translate to the camera on the back without a flash, whereas the Droid, you're going to get a 5 megapixel camera versus the 3 on the Devour, and again, no LED flash. It's just very hard to recommend the Devour. I'm not sure who Motorola and Verizon are targeting with the Devour. Certainly, probably the feature phone crowd is maybe looking for a texting device with a bit more capabilities, but still for $100 more, you're getting so much more with the Droid. Perhaps the Devour was $50 or free on a contract. I could really see its niche and see its value and say, you know what, this is a great phone if you're looking to sort of get into the Android world and get a bit more powerful device. But for its price, I got a very hard time recommending it. That being said, it is quite capable. I didn't notice a lot of lagging and speed. Multitasking was quite fine on it, as I found with most Android devices. And again, call quality was quite good. So as a phone itself, taking price out of it, I give it a very solid 3 out of 5. Its lack of multi-touch, its small screen, and its sort of heft and bulk took away points. However, if this thing did drop down in price to, again, $50 to $150 to free rather, it would be a much higher mark and a really nice phone to pick up. Keyboard easy to type on, and things would just be a little bit rosier for the Devour. Perhaps it could be a device that I may eat up. Sorry, bad joke. Anyway, this is John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo with a full review for you of the Motorola Devour. For all your tech news and to create your own tech subblog and even monetize it and make some money, be sure to check out technobuffalo.com. Give me a follow on Twitter for all your exclusive Twitter-related content at John4Lakers. I'm John Rettinger, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.